Yeah, he's not only the front runner. I expect him to be the head coach of this team by probably Wednesday morning. I would assume.
We're talking with our NFL insider, John McMullen. Follow him on Twitter at JFMcMullen, PhillyVoice.com, and SI.com. And be sure to subscribe to the Jacob Media YouTube channel, JAKIB Media, for all of our conversations. John, let's switch gears here to the Eagles. As you've mentioned, you have Josh McDaniels on the brain, I think you said, amongst others. So where are we in this search? Is McDaniels the actual front runner right now for the Eagles job?
Yeah, he's not only the front runner. I expect him to be the head coach of this team by probably Wednesday morning. I would assume.
Wow.
Yeah, he's going to be the next head coach of this football team, and I'm astonished by that.
Wow.
When we started this thing, I wouldn't have brought up that name in a million years, and here we are. I don't love it. I don't think it's pretty amazing from Josh's perspective. I mean, it's you talk about pre-Indianapolis Colts, Josh McDaniel.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have even considered this job, and he took such hits for what basically was unprofessional behavior. I went back between 2015 and 2018 when he took the Colts job. He had 11 different interviews. I mean, he was the guy. He had rehabilitated himself from the Denver debacle when he got a job way too young. I think he was 32. It was a disaster there. He got back with Belichick, rehabilitated his image. And he was the guy who could turn down jobs and wait for the perfect job and wait for the perfect situation because he knew everybody wanted to talk to him. And then he took the Colts job and he did a 180 and left him at the altar. It was so unprofessional. His agent, Bob Lamont, dropped him for doing that. And he hasn't gotten an interview since. This is his first interview since he did that. Wow. To be a head coach, and he's going to get this job.
What?
And it is crazy to me after what the Eagles have been through, and they're going to bring in this guy with that kind of baggage. But that's where we are.
I'm shocked. I mean, I'm not shocked because I've been on record really all year long, all season long, that my trust for this organization has dwindled down to almost nothing. And maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing something here as far as Josh McDaniels, and maybe this time around he'll be different. But I don't know, man. I just...
Well, the only positive I could spin about it, I think he now understands, like, this is it. I mean, this is his only opportunity. And nobody was going to interview him. And this might be his last opportunity to be a head coach in this league, and he's going to have to take it and going to have to try to swim with it. And he is a good schematic coach. He is a really bright guy when it comes to offensive football. The issues with him are all the ancillary stuff. Is he a leader? Can he get along with people? It really is some of the same, which makes you question Jeffrey Lurie more than anything. Some of the same stuff you heard with Chip Kelly. But that's from the personality standpoint. From the schematic standpoint, he's not Chip Kelly. He's really good. I mean, especially when you talk about slot receivers and dominating, that's what he's known for, dominating the middle of the field. If you go back to Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, obviously, Rob Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez before he went off the rails. From a personal standpoint, I mean, these were dominant players, and he sort of built an offense that is rare. That is, you don't see it very often. When you think about dominant offenses like Kansas City or explosive offenses like Green Bay. You think about, Rodgers killing just this week. The Rams would play action down the field to Allen Lazard. That's what you think about Tyreek Hill. You think about the explosion, and he created sort of a different offense. Part of it was due to Tom Brady's limitations as an aging quarterback. So he deserves credit for that. But, boy, the other stuff is bad. And I mean really bad. To the point where, and this is before Josh was ever mentioned with the Philadelphia Eagles, ever got an interview. I said, the two worst coaches I've ever seen in this league are Josh McDaniels and Adam Gase. And Josh was worse than Adam Gase. Now, he was 32 at the time.
Yeah.
It was over a decade ago. Maybe he learned from it. But, boy, this is crazy.
Yeah, completely agree with everything you've said, John. Give us one, because I didn't follow the Josh McDaniels Broncos saga that closely. Just one example that you could provide that just makes you say that. Like, what didn't you like of what he was doing in Denver?
I'm sorry, I had difficulty hearing you. Didn't like about what?
Yeah, just one example of, just what didn't you like about Josh's time in Denver? Like, what decision maybe stood out the most, or just
in Denver? Oh, number one, it started with his relationship with Jay Cutler, who was a really talented quarterback. And I think Josh started out 6-0, maybe 5 or 6-0 as a first-year head coach. And so it was really good early. And he didn't get along with his quarterback. He just hated him.
Yeah, Jay's a bad human.
Cutler, but and people will criticize Jay Cutler. But, Jay played a lot of years in Chicago, and because of his talent, he had tremendous arm talent.
Totally agree with that.
And, a lot of people think he was an underachiever. But my point is he had a ton of talent. And he will say to this day he never trusted Josh McDaniels. It became so bad, their relationship, they had to trade him. The misevaluation of Tim Tebow is a big part of it. Tried to push that down people's throats. Unbelievable. That was a first-round pick in this league. And then there was also a cheating scandal, which is ironic.
Yeah.
Because of Bill Belichick and the Patriots. But those were the major things that happened in Denver. The biggest one would definitely be Cutler, though, because things were humming along. Things were going great. And, you think about some of the sour relationships. You don't have to look far with the Eagles and Carson Wentz. Usually when you have a sour relationship because things aren't going well. And that's what was so similar between Josh McDaniels and Adam Gase is their inability to get along with people. And that's also what kind of doomed Chip Kelly in the end. If you can't get along with people, you can't be a head coach in the NFL. Hopefully he's matured. But that Indianapolis part of it indicates he hasn't matured.
Right. I just don't get it. Like, John, you've talked about this a lot. The CEO importance of being a head coach. It's not congrats, you're really knowledgeable at play calling and you're innovative and you're great in dialing up offensive schemes and yada yada yada. But that's not the job. That's not the job. Then Josh McDaniels should be the next offensive coordinator. Like, I just don't understand how you can look at him and say that's the leader of the Philadelphia Eagles organization. It's appalling, and I don't think I'm being dramatic.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my first choice. I would say that, even in a situation like this where, let's be honest, the hot candidates at this particular time, Robert Saleh, Arthur Smith, guys like that, they had no interest in this job because of what was going on, and they had options. I've been telling you this from the start, Ryan. And, Brian Daboll, even though a lot of people expected him to get the Chargers job, Chargers went in a different direction. hired Brandon Staley, and the Eagles wanted to talk to Daboll, and he just flat out said no. I'm not interested. And think about that. I mean, we Buffalo is a great story, but that organization has been down for years. And you think about the Eagles' reputation until this season, and now you got a guy saying, "Nope, thanks, I'll stay in Buffalo," and go become head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's where we are, and this ain't going to help things, I don't think. And hey, maybe Josh proves me wrong. I hope he does prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I never root for people to fail, but I do think you're kind of ignoring things if you don't bring up his history, and you're kind of ignoring things if you don't look at Jeffrey Lurie's history and the fact that he is from Boston. He loves the Patriots. He tried to buy the Patriots before he bought the Eagles.
Good point.
He's always been enamored with how that organization does business, and even looking back on it, when he had his Doug Peterson press conference, out of nowhere, he said he was talking about losing Frank Reich because Josh turned down, and he used the term Josh. He used his first name. And now I'm thinking back and saying, gee, is this guy in love with Josh McDaniels? I think it might come down to that.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen him make decisions based off his infatuation with players, coaching staff members, and how that has clouded his judgment. This could be the ultimate example of that, given any potential personal history between the two. How are we assessing them then? Let's say this announcement comes out Wednesday, breaking news. Josh McDaniels is the Philadelphia Eagles' next head coach. Without interviewing candidate X, Y, and Z, I mean, just the perception of that alone, John. But once again, it doesn't seem like Jeffrey Lurie or the organization even cares.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, Ryan, because one thing I heard, and I had thought that Mike Kafka was going to be a target for this team, and I was hardly the only one. Turns out they didn't request an interview, and I was told they were concerned about the optics of another Andy Reid coach. Now, think about that. At this particular time, the guy's in the third straight AFC Championship game. You're concerned about the optics of somebody who learned under Andy Reid? And by the way, and I put this on Twitter today. Today was Martin Luther King Day. I was legitimately concerned they were going to name Josh McDaniels the head coach today. That's how tone deaf I think this organization is right now. And by the way, I still think they're going to get hits. Eric Bieniemy's agent, I don't know if you guys saw it, put out a tweet today saying the Eagles were going to hire Josh McDaniels, by the way.
Wow.
And without interviewing Eric Bieniemy. And they were very upset, as a lot of the league is upset that minority candidates, and specifically Bieniemy, can't seem to get a job in this league. There's 2 African-American coaches right now, on and on and on. I was concerned. This team's concerned about the optics of an Andy Reid coach, but they're not concerned about the optics of that. And that's not even to bring up the optics about Josh McDaniels himself that I just told you guys. This organization is broken right now.
I mean, this just is the nail in the coffin of deciding whether this organization is broken or not. So, all right, I mean, John, you seem... Just to wrap things up here, we're talking with our NFL Eagles insider, John McMullen. Follow John on Twitter at JF McMullen. He writes for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. He writes for Philly Voice at PhillyVoice.com. And he hosts his own show here on 1490, Extending the Play, every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. You seem rather confident, John. This is all but official to you here, and Wednesday seems to be the day?
Yeah, I was told by Wednesday morning, could be tomorrow, by a very good source. Now, I don't have that second source, I'll be honest. I'm always honest. So you do, and that's why not going to report it. I'm not going to write it until it gets second source. But I'm very confident that Josh McDaniels is going to be the head coach of this team this week. And like I always say, Ryan, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm on the radio every day. You can take your shots at me.
You're not wrong often, John, but the Twitter trolls are sitting in the corner doing push-ups waiting for you to be wrong. So when that 1 out of 100 times comes, they are certainly ready for you, my friend. All right, so we'll talk more about this tomorrow, but that's certainly the headline is it's likely that Josh McDaniels becomes the head coach. Not official, but that seems to be the report right now. John, we have about a minute or two. Any quick thoughts on the Sixers or Flyers?
Not a hockey guy, so you're never going to get that Flyers talk from me.
That's
not
fine.
that there's anything wrong with Flyers, but
we need to change
me
that, John.
And the Sixers, I'm still it's interesting because I was trying to figure out whether Daryl Morey was really trying to trade for James Harden. It looks like he was. So it's going to be interesting to see how they repair those relationships, most notably Ben Simmons. I don't care about role players like Sixers Twitter does. But by the way, I'm happy if that's the case because that means, and I always thought Daryl knows what he's doing. That confirms he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's
Totally.
right. Yep.
Totally.
Sixers are looking up, I think, for the most part, outside of some of the standard issues. But of course,
outside of COVID-19.
Yeah, seriously. The impact are there in the NBA. That's a whole nother conversation. But, John, I appreciate it as always. Like I've said, be sure to follow John at JF McMullen. He joins me every night live in the Prop Swap Studios at 10:30 to talk all things Eagles and the latest news and notes in the National Football League. John, I appreciate it. We'll do it again tomorrow.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. There he is, man. Dropping somewhat of a bomb on us, Luke.
Somewhat.
Yeah, a massive bomb. And dude, listen, I've been talking with John, whether it's this platform or other platforms, for almost 4 years. The guy does not come out and say stuff like that.
Oh well, I just pulled this tweet up from the enemy's agent. I mean, he's literally saying the Eagles are hiring JM.
Okay. Josh McDaniels.
So I'll read the tweet. On MLK Day, the NFL should be ashamed that at this point, with only 2 jobs remaining, one after the Eagles hired JM,
Wow.
0 black coach hires or even second interviews.
Wow.
No coaches coaching in the conference championship games are currently connected to either of these 2 jobs.
Wow. That's the news.
I was going to ask John, do you know who the Eagles also interviewed for this?
I have that list. I can pull it up. We got to get to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about John dropping this bomb on us. Josh McDaniels seems to be lined up for the next head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles.